The pros and cons of historical data sourcing. Well, let me first of all start off by sharing the pros of using historical data sourcing. Okay, so first things first, there is going to be a high chance of the product you are sourcing for is actually going to be able to be purchased for you to resell. Now, considering that, should we say, you are going to be sourcing the top ASINs from your own data, you are likely to find items that you can sell because you've sold them already, and obviously this has been proven from your past performance. Now, the other thing which I'll add to that is because you are using last year's performance, you know a lot more insights into that data as well, i.e. sales velocity and what's going on. Now, let's say, for example, you use the data from, I don't know, last Q4. Right now we are in Q4, and if you wanted to see what was selling last Q4, well, you can use your last Q4 data and understand that to see which items are selling the most during Christmas and find out how many are selling. Now, for example, it might be that you sold a lot of Christmas lights last year and you can see what they are. You can see that there's a high chance that those Christmas lights are going to be selling again this year. And then you could even use this methodology with other methodologies to find other products that are going to help you. But this is by using your existing data. Now, secondly, sourcing is going to be made so much simpler because you've already got a list of ASINs which are already working for your business or have worked. Now, after collecting this data and sorting out those top ASINs, figuring out the ones that you want to go source, you can immediately load those top ASINs in Amazon and do reverse sourcing to find the suppliers which are going to meet your criteria. And hey, now that you even know the further data, and we'll talk about it, you could even look at the wholesale route as well. Now, the third advantage to historical data sourcing is that you have smaller chances of encountering issues. Why? Considering you've sold these products already, then you're going to have less chances of having dangerous goods, IP complaints. Because you've sold it before and you didn't get any issues in the past, you'll probably be fine going forward. Now, what I will say is that after, sharing with you the pros of historical data sourcing, let's have a look at the cons. First things first, it is a long process. The setup for this is quite challenging, but the rewards can be amazing. Now, getting started is always a challenge. That is why if you're not familiar with using historical data sourcing, it can be overwhelming, and it's a lot of upfront work you've got to do using Excel formulas, for example, to get the format right before you start finding products so you can reverse source. Now, the second disadvantage for you is the inevitable changes. Now, considering that the data is based on historical data, again, historical data sourcing, it's expected there are going to be changes maybe in prices, products, etc. And you might come across, ASINs which have been deleted. You might come across prices or products that were really good and now they have too much competition. You've just got to be mindful of that. So do recheck those ASINs, don't take it as a gospel. And I'll explain that later on. Now, the third and final con is that this is not really a great technique for beginners. If you are a beginner just starting on Amazon, this technique won't work. Why? Because it's called historical data sourcing. Now, this is highly data driven from your data. And if you don't have any data because you're a beginner, then obviously you can't really do this. So for us, what do we recommend? Well, don't do this strategy unless you've been sourcing your business for at least 6 months and ideally 1 year, because that is going to give you a much more accurate picture to understand what you need to do. So top tip there, if you're new, probably not the best sourcing method. Carry on with the other ones. How to actually use historical data sourcing. So what I'm going to do now is jump on the computer and we're going to go through how to do this. Now, I'll divide it into 3 parts. First part is downloading and getting the data. The second part is going to be fixing the data, formatting it. And the third part is going to be the sourcing and how you go actually and find the product. So we'll break it into 3 parts. I'll talk it through now and then obviously help you out. So let's jump on the computer and let's make this happen. Okay, so here we are now into Seller Central, and what I'm going to be doing is just coming, I'm going to be getting the actual data. So we want to come up to the top here, click on this at the top here, and this is kind of the action. We'll go down to reports, and we're going to go to business reports. Let's load up that. Now, this is your back of house business reports. Now, what we're going to do is left-hand side down the bottom, detail page sales and traffic by child. It's got to be child. Now let's check the date. Now say for example, right now we want to do Q4 sourcing. Let's go get Q4 last year. So let's get, October the 1st, and then let's go right through to, so October 1st there. Yep, got that. And then let's go right through to end of December last year as well. Again, we want that whole Q4 period, getting that. So just got to wait for this data to load now. So it takes a little while. So let's go through, come back, go all the way through. Back to December, there we go, and 31st. Cool, so now we put the dates in for Q4. Let's select them all and then click download CSV. So we're just gonna download those products. Now what it's gonna do is create a CSV file, and that's how we can get the report. So voila, here you can see, it's now just been downloaded, and that is the data coming from Amazon's Seller Central about that product or about these products. Nice and simple. So that's, first of all, getting the data. Now let's go through and have a look at how we format the data to get it into an actionable method. And there's some formula we have to use to kind of extract what we're really looking for, and some filtering as well. So jump back to the computer. Now I've just kind of quickly formatted it into like some black lines. So don't worry, it's exactly the same data. Now, first things first, what we're really going to want to be doing is putting a filter into the top line so that we can filter this data and sort it how we need to. So let's go through, and first things, let's go over to row 1. And let's highlight that whole row and just make sure that we get that kind of selected so we can put that filter in. So here we go to row 1, got that data, and then let's go to filter. And then what we want to do once we've got that filter now, nice and simple. Now what we want to do is come across, and we want to put in an extra column. So right here, what we're going to do is put in here total listing revenue. Now this is going to be an estimation of what we think the listing revenue is. So we're going to do a formula which equals, and we're going to take the product ordered sales and we're going to divide it by the buy box. We're going to say if we thought we made £9,000 worth of sales and only had 16% of the buy box, what would the listing make if it was total? So you can see there. Now let's drop that down and let's filter it now, remove any zeros. And then also what we want to do is we want to sort that by the largest to smallest. Again, we want the listings with the most sales potential. Again, we're trying to drive top selling items here. Now, the next thing we want to do is come over to units orders, and we need to remove any list or product whereby we've got less than 5 sales. And the reason is we're taking estimations off our buy box and our sales, and anything below about 5 sales a month just isn't statistically high enough. It could be a very erroneous data or very dangerous to use it. So we kind of use only think when we sold more than 5 items. Now let's come over here. We're doing listing or estimated listing sales. So what we're going to do is take the number of units ordered from ours and then divide that again by the buy box percentage to try and get an estimation of what the listing is actually doing during that period. And again, it's over that time period. So this is 3 months. And again, drag that down. Now what we're looking to do is just format this in no decimal places. Let's remove those decimal points. There you go, fantastic. So you can see there, the top one we're estimating that's got really high listing sales. Now, quite simply, let's just do one final one, which we're going to go onto here, and we're going to say, let's do cumulative stock, which we say cumulative stocks. Now, what we're going to be doing here is looking at what the current stock is within that listing. So what we're trying to do is find out where there's too much stock, let's not bother them, but where there's an undersupply of stock, that is a potential opportunity. So let's take each ASIN and let's go look at it onto Amazon. And we've got 2 tools we're using, so FBA multi-tool and also SAS on the right-hand side. And SAS is really good for this tip actually. So we find this really useful because it does this calculation for you automatically. So we'll just wait for this to load. And then once it's loaded, we're gonna go to SAS, scroll down. And what we're doing is we've got here, see all these sellers, and it says the stocks. We're going to hover over the last one. You can see that it says cumulative 213. So what it's doing is adding up all the stocks of all those sellers. So we're not interested around the buy box, we're just around the top 10 sellers, how much stock have they got in total. Again, we're trying to see the listing stocks. So let's put that in. We're going to go through and dump in that 213. Now you want to repeat that, and we'll do it in batches. So we'll do the next 50. So let's just do the next 50, drop them in now. There you go, done that. So again, the setup, there's quite a lot of work that you need to do. Now the final bit that you want to do here is work out which stocks have less than 75% of their capacity, i.e. like in stock right now. So stock fulfilled, again, let's do this, equals cumulative stocks. So we're going to click on that, and then we're going to divide that by listing estimations. So we're working out how much stock is in that. So let's drag that down. There we go, fill that out. And then what we're going to do is just convert that into a percentage. So we want to see what percentage of the stock is fulfilled. So you can see like right here, based on our calculation, the top one is saying like 1% of the listing sales currently have stock. So it's likely that it could run out. Now what we want to do is to filter that stock fulfilled for anything which is over 75%. And the reason is if there's more than 75% of that listing sales, what we are going to say is there's too much stock on the listing, we wouldn't want to get involved. So let's remove that. And then just we want to see the ones where maybe they're undersupplied. You know, people are likely to sell out because the sales velocity. So voila. Now we've done that for the top 50, filtered out the results, really, really good. And then what we're going to do now is quite simply, we're going to take those ASINs with the results and we're going to go through and reverse source them. So let's jump on now and let's go through a reverse sourcing of that exact process to find out what you do to the final stage of this process. So let's go into it now. Here we go, this is the product, but what we've done is say here, we can see this is the product we loaded up in Amazon. Obviously we did the check beforehand. Now, the one thing which I will say is just do a double check again. Check that it's still eligible to sell, check that it's not dangerous goods, there's no Amazon on the listing, or if that's a concern of yours. Here it's saying sales estimation 6 to 7. On the right hand side, you can see SAS is saying 130. I'd look at the keeper chart to confirm. You can kind of get a feel. Now, £14.12, that's the price there it's currently selling for. And for us, what we can just see is what's going on. So we're looking here, there are lots of new sellers joining that. So we won't just be mindful of that. There's lots of sellers, but definitely selling. I can see that with that sales chart. So we've got the product, we know we can still sell it. Let's go now have a look to find it. So here's one we kind of found earlier. We've got this product here. It looks pretty much the same. Now the other thing here, you can see it's saying, got the products, we've got £8, so £8 of this product. And what we'll do is we'll take that £8 and put that back into our calculator and see if it's going to be profitable for us. I think it was about £14.12 that we could sell this for. So close, we'll have to see. Let's come back to FBA calculator. Let's type in the £8 that we've got. And let's do calculate. And what's it going to come back out at? There you go. That is going to be a loss of 3p. But what I will say is it's very close. So you might be able to find a voucher code, you might be able to find something else, but this is just the first look that we found for a product where you can do reverse sourcing and actually start looking for those products. Perhaps maybe you can even find a wholesaler and get that on bulk because you know it's really selling. But that is the process of getting your data from Amazon, formatting it, filtering out everything that you don't want, and only finding the products you do want where there's opportunity on the listings. And then finally, what you are doing is you are going to be looking for those products using that reverse sourcing technique. But what I will say is hopefully you've liked this video. If you have, give me a big thumbs up. And hey, if you want to see more about this, hit that subscribe button down below and you'll be notified every time I release a video. But from myself, Thomas Parkinson and FastTrackFBA, thank you very much.